friends. I've just arrived at Starbucks. We're gonna do either a little bit of writing or I'm thinking I might actually go ahead and try to plan my like fall break type little getaway. There's a place down in southeast Oklahoma that I kind of want to visit, and I've been wanting to visit for a while, called Broken Bow. So I might look on Airbnb or Vrbo and try to find a place to stay. Starbucks. I had a successful little lunch date with myself. I ended up booking a place a little bit outside of where I originally thought I was going to book, but that's okay because I would rather us be like maybe have to drive 30 minutes somewhere than to be like in the middle of things and it be really like loud. We found that to be true when we were in New Mexico. It was so much better to be slightly outside of downtown than in the middle of downtown. So anyway, that is booked for like late October. So very excited about that. Could you be any cuter? Girl, look at me again. Could you be any cuter? My sweet prince. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that little thing.
We went to the mailbox to check the mailbox, and I did have 3 books come that I thrifted. If you watched my first Vlogtober video, you saw, I actually don't think I filmed that little part, but in the poetry section, when I was browsing the poetry section, I saw a lot of Mary Oliver, and I loved the few things from her that I have read. Almost bought like a set of 4, but obviously being in a bookstore, they were new. It was like $60 something. I was like, I guarantee you I can go on eBay and get them much cheaper. So I did. So one of the first ones that I saw, let me remove this ugly sticker. She's a little rough, but that's okay. I knew that would be the case when I went to thrift them. But the first one is Blue Horses. And I honestly didn't buy any of them in any particular order or for any particular reason other than they sounded interesting and I liked the covers. I don't know, I just kind of picked the ones that I liked. So this one is a very short, most of these are pretty short, little poetry collection. Herons, sparrows, owls, and kingfishers flit across the page in meditations on love, artistry, and impermanence. Whether considering a bird's nest, the seeming patience of oak trees, or the artworks of Franz Marc, Oliver reminds us of the transformative power of attention and how much can be contained within the smallest moments. This one came out in 2014. So this one's about 10 years old now. I did just damage the cover a little bit, unfortunately, but sometimes I love like a battered little copy. These are always perfect for travel because they take up like no space at all. So these might be nice to take out there with me. And where I'm going, it's like a lodge that overlooks a lake and it's very quiet and calm. And so I really love the idea of taking something a little bit more meditative like poetry. Ooh. Okay, so first up we have Swan. Poems and prose poems. So poems. This one is from 2010. Yeah, I love anything that has to do with nature. She writes about nature so beautifully. And then in the same package, I must have bought it from the same seller. This is Thirst. I love how like old school these are. They're just so, I don't know, there's something about them that feels even older than they actually are. This one is from 2006. Okay, so this one is a little bit older. This collection of 43 new poems introduces 2 new directions of Mary Oliver's work. Grappling with grief as the death of her beloved partner of over 40 years, she strives to experience sorrow as a path to spiritual progress. Grief as part of loving and not its end. Within these pages, she chronicles for the first time her discovery of faith without abandoning the love of the physical world that has been a hallmark of her work for 4 decades. Okay, so this one might be a little bit more intense in terms of its content because it sounds like it's going to have to do with grief. But the last poetry book that I read, The Wild Delight of Wild Things by Brian Turner, oh my goodness, it was so good. And it was about grief. It was about him losing his wife to cancer. So it was like obviously really intense, but it was so beautiful. I love when writers can talk about really, really sad things, but in a really beautiful way. So I'm sure she will do the same. And then it came with a little bookmark. Where is this from? Where? Oh, Seattle. The Cathedral Shop at St. Mark's. Books, gifts, CDs, and tickets. I feel like they've been like vacuum sealed. I'm afraid to cut into the book. Okay, and then we have Redbird. I've done this with a few authors and plan to do it with a few more. Read all of their stuff, like their entire oeuvre, in publication order. I don't know how many books she has. It's a lot, but I'd have to like buy them all in order. So maybe I won't do that with her. I'll eventually get around to everything, but I'm probably not going to read them in publication order. Says this is her 12th book of poetry. Redbird comprises 61 poems, the most ever in a single volume of her work, overflowing with her keen observation of the natural world and her gratitude for its gifts, for the many people she's loved in her 70 years, as well as for her disobedient dog Percy. Redbird is a quintessential collection of Oliver's finest lyrics. So it sounds like this one might be one of those ones where they pick poems from previous works and then come out with like a new book, and it maybe has a few new ones in it, but it's kind of like mostly comprised of previously written poems. So I'm kind of curious if it's even necessary for me to read all of her stuff, because a lot of times you think you're reading like a completely new book, but it's not. It's kind of like an amalgamation of previous poetry books. So anyway, there's Redbird. All right, so there's my little haul. 4 little books. I don't know which one I should start with. I'll definitely end up taking at least 1 or 2 of them to my little writing retreat, because they'll be just so convenient to pack. So very excited for these. I love her. Hello friends, it's the next day. The cat is waiting patiently for me to go outside, but quickly, before that, I thought I would, because it was dark last night and you guys couldn't really see what I was doing. I thought I would show you the way that I've kind of organized the books on top. So this is like books that I want to get to soon. That's what I was pulling up onto like the top of the shelf. So our first little stack, we have Fragile Animals. I can't remember where I saw this one or who I heard talking about this one, but it's a woman who's like left the Catholic Church and then she starts a relationship with a vampire. So this will be a really fun gothic novel for October. And then the 2 that I bought, I think that you would have seen it in my first Vlogtober when I did my little bookstore haul. Babel, which is like, it gets such good reviews, so I'm really excited to read this one this winter. And then Curious Tides, I've literally never heard of, but the cover got me. It's gorgeous. It's got this like kind of foiled turquoise sea on the cover. And then Woodworm, this may just be like a weird me thing, but whenever I'm watching other people's like bookstore vlog type videos, I'm always pausing to see like what's on their feature tables and like what's on the bestseller list at their particular bookstore. And I follow Katherine Karras, and if you guys know her, she's fabulous. I love the vibes of her whole videos. Anyway, this was one that I ended up like pausing the video and looking at a table and seeing this one on the bestsellers table at a bookstore somewhere in New York, because she lives in New York. And I was like, ooh, I was immediately intrigued. It's called Woodworm by Layla Martinez, and this one is actually translated, so it'll work for my Reading Around the World challenge, which I'm very excited to add more books to that. This was originally written in Spanish, and so this will be for Spain because it was originally published in Spain. And this description at the top is why I bought this book. It says, "The house breathes. The house holds bodies and secrets. The house is visited by ghosts, by angels that line the roof like insects, and by saints that burn the bedsheets with their halos." I mean, it sounds so good. So if the rest of the actual writing is anything like that, I'm going to be very pleased with this one. A chilling novel tells a story of specters, class war, violence, and loneliness, as naturally as if the witches had dictated this lucid, terrible nightmare to Martinez themselves. And then the last one on this stack is The Spell Shop, which I have heard very good things. It's kind of supposed to be like the ultimate cozy fantasy, and it is another one that has a really pretty cover. This one I was able to find thrifted, and then I always keep my little journal. This is just my journal with my notes in it for the book that I'm writing, so it's got like inspo pictures and that kind of thing all printed out in there, so I keep that kind of at hand. And then you guys saw, literally it would have been like the last clip where I was hauling these and kind of explaining those Mary Oliver poetry books, which I'm so excited to get to. I'm trying to not like read them all in a row because you know how it takes like no time at all to go through like a little poetry book. I want to try to savor her stuff and really sit with it. So I'm going to take a few with me to my writing retreat, but I'm going to try to not blaze through those. And then I just finished The Deer and the Dragon, which was a little bit problematic, and I will go into detail in my October wrap up. You see how there's like a decent amount of tabs right there at the front? And then there's not a lot. I realized what kind of book it was about halfway through. I realized it was one of those like Sarah J. Maas. No offense to like her fans, because I know she has legions of loyal fans. It's very much like a fans of A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's very much like not a lot of plot, but a lot of like sexy, immortal, fae characters just existing. I don't know. It wasn't my cup of tea. And then we have, this is actually supposed to be like a legitimate horror novel, This Thing Between Us. Randomly saw this on Amazon as I was buying other things. This was like, I scrolled down and it was like a suggested thing. And it's supposed to be very good. I've heard really good reviews about this. Something to do with like a haunted radio. And then lastly, we have Ninth House, which I read last month. So I believe that was in my September wrap up. Slewfoot, I'm so excited for this one. It's like an old-fashioned fairy tale. Yeah, set in colonial New England, tale of magic and mystery. So this one will be like, I think I decided this is going to be my like Halloween night read. So I'm very excited for Brahms' Slewfoot. And then another Leigh Bardugo, The Familiar. This was actually a reread. I had already read that when it came out. But I haven't read The Familiar, and I know Leigh Bardugo has said this is the one that she is like the most proud of because she did the most research. I haven't read any of her young adult, so the only like context I have of her is Ninth House and Hellbent. So, and I liked those, so I'm sure I'm gonna like this. I want to say it takes place during the Spanish Golden Age. And then lastly, we have a graphic novel because I couldn't help myself. Because how gorgeous. Also, my little Sephora haul. I love seeing what people buy. Let's do this in the bathroom so I can actually put this stuff away. So we have something that I've already opened because I wore it today. The Bare Minerals, it's their like matte powder foundation. It's not a lot of coverage at all, but I wanted something that like purposefully didn't, it says full coverage, that's definitely not the case at all, but I wanted something that was just very light, basically that was just going to take care of my like oily skin, because I have very oily skin, which I know one day will do good things for me. 2 more things for face, actually. I am nearly out of this. It's almost all dried up. This little, what is this? Clear brow gel. It makes them a little bit stiff, which I don't love. This may do the same thing, but this is like the tinted one. The Dip Brow Gel. Again from Anastasia. It doesn't have a smell, which is good because that other one reeks. It's so gross. It literally smells like some sort of paint or chemical that you would use. So that's another reason why I'm not going to buy this one, the clear one. I mean, it's pretty, but it's nasty. It stinks. So I might as well just go ahead and replace that. And then for lips, I have never bought anything from Laneige. But I've heard good things. This is their Lip Glowy Balm. I ended up buying Basic Vanilla because they had other colors, and the packaging was scaring me a little bit because I'm not sure if they're sheer. I couldn't find a try-on, so I wasn't sure if they were going to be sheer or not. It's a balm, so I'm sure it is. And then for hair, this Wow, Color Wow Dream Coat Supernatural Spray. It's like a heat protectant, but it's for blow drying, anti-frizz, anti-humidity treatment, and it requires heat to activate the product. So on the days when I do wash my hair, I'm really bad about going to bed with it wet, which is not good. You're not supposed to do that. Just PSA, don't go to bed with your hair wet. You probably can't tell because it was long before, and it's still long, but it was like down to here. So that's nice. Nice fresh ends, always feels really good. When I do wash it, I've been really bad about going to bed with it wet sometimes. So if I spray that in, hopefully it'll make it nice and sleek and it won't be all gross and, you know, frizzy and stuff in the morning.
I slide my hand into his, I just like shock it.